Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology update for November 3rd through 10th, 2025. Well, we've been feeling the intense square between Jupiter in Cancer and square to Chiron in Aries. They have been in their first exact square since October 16th, and that just came to an end on November 1st. These planets will be moving into their second exact square in the second part of December. So right now for this first square that we just experienced, we have Jupiter still direct, turning retrograde on the 12th of November, and Chiron retrograde for the first square. So for the second square, both of them will be retrograde. And then for the third and final square in July of 2026, they'll both be direct in the signs of Leo and Taurus instead of Cancer and Aries. So let's talk this through, because last week, just as these planets came into this intense square, and let's talk about it, because Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter wants to expand and bring more and amplify. In Cancer, it's about mothering, warmth, connection, growth, life force, everything we all need and want. And we know that that's the only thing that's going to get us into our new age, is to come back to heal the wound of separation and come back into connection with something greater than ourselves. And this is the energy of the mothering, the nurturing Mother Earth as a sentient being calling us home. Except for when we go there, can we handle the reflection that she shows us? It's like right now we're being faced with all the nitty-gritty leftover shame and guilt and karma that we haven't been able to face up to this point. You know, we save the best for last, apparently. And this is why your life seems so, it's such a juxtaposition between dark and light, because your soul growth is happening at a rapid expansion with these energies. And yet what's happening is that we have to face the deepest, darkest, perhaps karma or shame or guilt or dynamics that we kind of up until now we're able to avoid. Say, oh no, I can't deal with that one. So we're dealing with the karma, the things that we put off to the last. And it's really intense. At the same time, we feel this power, this growth, this knowing, this increased permission to take back the energies of our life force, because this is Chiron and Aries. Chiron is our deepest wounds, and Aries represents the full potential of what the human can become. So it represents where we've given away that ideal and where we've given away our energy, because Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, is astrological spring, the conception, the surge of power. And it's like in that naivety, perhaps, it's easy to give over that power to forces that are not going to use that power in the way that we want to. And this is the biggest roadblock that we're at right now, is where we have inadvertently or unknowingly, or we are manipulated into allowing our precious spiritual energy, life force energy, to be used for destructive purposes again and again. I mean, this is shown metaphorically in our financial system, where we have been our own, it's like we don't have a say, just say in the United States, we don't have a say in how our resources that we've given to the government are used. It's okay to create genocide and war and destruction with our money. So this is what's happening in our energy field, right? We're going, wait a minute. And this is so powerful. The way what's happening right now is the veil is thinning. We know this at this time of year, Scorpio season, but we know we're in the Scorpio season of this whole evolution. And so the veil must be, in order to really face the darkness, the veil must be removed. This is the apocalypse, the removal of the veil, the seeing things clearly. And that can be more frightening than the delusions. So we're faced at this, we're just kind of in this stuck place, is the feeling of this Jupiter square Chiron, where it's like, until you come back to mother and open your heart back up and you stop feeding the monsters, we can't get anywhere, right? So we're facing all of this, and it feels like we're in the dark, twisting turns of the dungeon, because we have Saturn and Neptune have retrograded back into Pisces. And we talked about this, November being a very strange month, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and we've got the energies of Saturn and Neptune going back into Pisces. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, represents delusions, also truths, spiritual truths, but also delusions. And Pisces is majorly delusional because it's like at the edge, at the veil, at that end degrees of Pisces where all this is happening. That's the unknown, the mysterious. That's the death of the zodiac, where all goes back to the one. So we're going through this massive cosmic collective death experience. It's an ego death experience. Because guess what? In this place of twists and turns, in the dungeons, in the subconscious, in these places, it's coming to a point where, it's like around every corner and in every doorway, every hallway, the only thing you can find, it's a dead end road. And it's mother there holding a mirror with this compassionate love, saying, all right, can you handle yourself? This is the ultimate question around humanity moving into the Aquarian age. Because if we continue to leak out our energy to the dark forces, or the forces that want control, and just their whole purpose of existing is to try to keep us from our spiritual ascension, right? So if we're going to continue to feed those forces, we're never going to get anywhere. But it all comes down to this energy of the Piscean age, which we must clean up. The delusions of the past age are spiritual delusions, because the Pisces represents spirituality coming back to the one. But forces have used that spiritual energy to manipulate the masses. And so we know, and we've been told again and again, that in order to get into the Aquarian age, we've got to heal the Piscean age, right? That was Neptune, this last years of Neptune in Pisces. And so, but we know also that it's like we can't really get out of the Piscean age until we claim back the mysteries and the miracles, the Christ consciousness, the bloom of the magic that came through at the last shift of ages, which was stolen from us. But here's the tricky part, because we're coming to this place in this karmic quagmire where there's only one road. Behind every door you go and every avenue, you can only get here. But when we're faced with the mirror of mother's love, we run. And what this really is saying is that, are we ready to take responsibility fully and completely? Okay, so supernova souls, we've been taking responsibility for so much that's not ours, right? Going back to the Atlantean catastrophes, and so much of our karmic path as supernova souls through this evolution has to do with this, where we allow the infiltration, the stealing of our technologies, and we took the blame. The stealing of our technologies to create catastrophes on our loving Mother Earth, who would never do anything like that to us. That's the wound of separation. And so the absolute key and the fear, we're fighting and fighting and fighting for our autonomy, our sovereignty, and like the supernova souls know this stuff. This invasion is in our mind, in our psyche, and we must be strong and vigilant, But we are called to really the ultimate thing, the scariest thing is that mirror, where mother says, here's the love Are you that? Now, that means that to get anywhere, we have to take responsibility for our actions. Now, this is weird, right? Because it's like, wait a minute. Turns out supernova souls have been taking responsibility, right? Because this was a message that came through back in 2015 when all of this information started coming through individual sessions about supernova souls, that the moment we drop the karma, the vibration, the shame, the energy that we've been carrying for crimes we didn't commit, the moment we stop that, it's game over for the dark side. The moment we stop carrying that. So it makes sense at this point, at this end point where there's only, nowhere else to go but back to mom. So it would make a lot of sense at this point that that's where we're at. Now, this is what she says. The cosmic game of the mother's love is that everyone must take responsibility for their actions. Now, this is really difficult because we are living in a totally unconscious world. People are so unconscious. They can't even take responsibility for, daily life. It's difficult, just survival, And so, but we're being asked to take responsibility for every action we've ever done with intention over all of our lifetimes. And so the deepest, darkest, shameful thing that you are involved in is in your face right now, challenging you. And mom says, look in the mirror because I'm you. So basically, it's a very frightening place to be because it's like the mirror is like so bright, and it's like, whoa. Because it means we have to take responsibility. See, what happened in Atlantean time, and again and again and again with supernova souls, is that we were coerced and bullied and manipulated into allowing an external power, the false god, right? The false god of all the religious structures, the punishing god, the one that's outside of you. Now, the deal is like going back to the Ten Commandments, and that freeing the slaves means you have to explain to them how to be free. We have not been able to take responsibility for our actions on the earth. And then some of us have been taking responsibility for very dark actions that are not our actions, but maybe that's because somewhere way back in there's something we still need to correct. Or is what we need to correct that ability and confidence to say, yes, I take responsibility. So supernova souls are surrounded right now by karmic handlers. And these handlers, you can spot them right away because they will not take responsibility for any part. Now we're coming to the day of judgment, right? Where all balances. And we have to understand that that means that the judgment we've been carrying, because we've been hated, man, we've been showing up with the love as the healers, as the midwives, as the teachers, as, like for humanity. And we've been taking the abuse on top of it. We just show up in service. So we have to examine deep in our heart and soul, what have we done wrong? What can we correct? Because if there's anything in that nitty gritty that's keeping us from feeling like we can handle the responsibility of our autonomy, okay? This is the scariest part of the mirror. It's much easier to see that mirror, and we've been doing this over the last 5-6 years, right? Supernova souls. And we see the mirror and we're like, oh my gosh, I cannot take responsibility. I am not a leader. I'm not going to stand in those shoes. I'm not going to be that person. I am not ready to take responsibility for my power. And that's where they want us, right? It's like the whole story all the way back to the original infiltration of the sons of Belial and Atlantean time, all designed to put us in this place right now. Fear of our sovereign autonomy as spiritual beings. And yet that is what's required to take responsibility as sovereign beings in order to move into the Aquarian age. because we're not doing the lower octave of the Aquarian age. That was Atlantean time, the misuse of technologies. Now the technologies are returned and only to be used in alignment with Mother, right? So that's where we come to the absolute key, she says, that if we are going to face where we haven't been able to take responsibility for our actions, we better have some alignment. We better know. So the confidence to take responsibility comes from being able to look in the mirror and know that you are the goddess or the god or creator or source or whatever you want to say, because that's Mother's message. She's closer to us than Jesus or Father or any than even they like represent this love. It all represents this love, but Mother's right here. Her body's right here. And this is where we have to deal. So as we start to dismantle the control energies and the handling that we've dealt with over lifetimes, what's happening for people right now is that sometimes you close your eyes and the psychic, intuitions and the stripping away of the calcification on our pineal gland, and we're starting to see images, and you can actually get a sense of who's been in your head, right? Like, this is where we kind of go back to this concept. It's like, well, do I get a say in how my money is spent? Do I get to have a say? Do we as sovereign souls get to have a say in where our energy resources are spent? And that's what we're coming up against at every turn right now. And these places where we're have to choose our autonomy, we're faced with the guilt and the grief of leaving people behind. Because if you have some of this deep, dark karma that you haven't been able to get back to until now, it means that you have a soul responsibility it's about a soul responsibility to yourself, but ultimately to the other. And it's got to get worked out, right? Because we've got to have singular responsibility, autonomy. We each have to take responsibility. So there's these handler energies in your life that are manipulating you continually to take responsibility for their actions against you. So we got to sort this karma out, and maybe that's it. It's like, Mom, I can't access my Akashic records right now. I can't face it and handle it, but have I done something? But haven't we all done something? Doesn't it come down to this basically having to face the source of the love that never went away, that we didn't feel worthy of, that we separated ourselves from? So the wound of separation is where we all had to, as we got bodies and go through this evolution, separate from that source. And now the only thing you can find is that. And so we're in a strange time right now where everything is shifting, because we have to understand that Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces, that's mutable sign. And so it's all about adjusting to a spiritual shift, to a spiritual change. And the spiritual change that we're adjusting to is that Saturn and Neptune having gone into Aries. So Neptune, our dreamer, our visionary planet, got to hang out at the beginning degrees of Aries and be like a reset, right? Oh, we're all scrambled. We are all scrambled in our field, who we are, our identity, and this is who we're supposed to be. This is the full true potential of what humanity wants to be. Now Neptune, the dreamer, going back into Pisces. And so it's almost like using the delusions of Pisces, where this month is going to be weird. Don't believe anything you see out there, because it's using the delusions of the dark side in order to heal and release for good, right? Are we being forced, in order to protect ourselves and take our sovereignty right now, to actually move into using these technologies? Because I have to say that in the process that I've gone through in these years to stay alive, through the breath and through intention and love and connection to Mother Earth, I've seen that it's pushed me into an absolute knowing around cellular regeneration, and that we can choose the energy in our field, that we can lift off disease in the moment, once we've learned from it. It's a vibrational signature, and we are vibrational beings. So all of this is coming forward, and so is that key, that alignment key, the fear of that responsibility. And so, but here we are playing the role of taking responsibility for souls around us. And if you have karma with a soul like this, a handler, and something where you, in order to protect yourself or free yourself, you may have done something or committed violence, and then your soul is enmeshed in this energy. But the most likely what's happening is that soul is not as evolved as you, and so we have had for lifetimes to hold ourselves back until we get this one worked out. And it's so sticky and so intense, and it might be a myriad of energies where this control force worked through your family members, through your partners, through your bosses, and the people around you. These beings can jump in any body to mess with you, and to try to get your energy. And now we say, no, because if we don't take responsibility for our energy and we don't take it back, then we're never going to get out of this, So we have to face the guilt and shame. Like, why do we feel guilty about taking back our own energy? Why do we feel guilty for stopping to carry the guilt, right? So in emotional manipulation, first of all, the main key is that you can't figure out what's going on, right? When you're confused, you're being manipulated. And in that energy of manipulation, it's just a very kind of tricky, if you have a soul bonds with these people, it's very tricky to figure out what's their karma and your karma and what's really going on, because they are staking a claim. And this has to do with being a leader in a past life. SuperNova souls, this is something we all have to face as group karma, where we feel responsible on a soul level for a group of souls that we were a leader or a spiritual person or presence through going through catastrophes together, things like that. And so in that case, it's more appropriate to be a spiritual leader, to take on the karma, to transmute and to be the healer, to take on spiritual responsibility. That was appropriate in that time. But now we all have to take our own responsibility. So how are we not going to feel like we're leaving people behind? And yet we know that the only way we can go or take anyone with us is to claim our sovereignty and our autonomy and make sure that we're not leaking our energy out for any other story. And that's why we got to go to mom for our news now. We got to be with her. And so the absolute key to facing all of this right now is alignment with her, or whatever you're aligned with, your true self. Because the mirror that she shows us, so mom's there at the end of every turn, corner, and hallway and doorway. And the mirror that she's showing us, though, is who we are. And it feels like it's burning us. And so we are being forced to take responsibility. And this is also what's going on in our physical organism. As Mother is embodying herself, Mother Dragon waking up and the life force returning. And the energy flow, what happens when the energy flows is that's life force. That's the vital force, they call it in homeopathy, classical homeopathy. This is the self-regulating, self-correcting force in all of us, which is Mother. And so this self-correcting force is what we're talking about with this alignment. And so in this facing of who we are and in taking responsibility for who we are, what we're being called to do is a step beyond the autonomy we've all been working on in our energy field, and understanding that we have dominion, and that as her stewards, and that it's not just our field. To have a big field as who you are as supernova, it's time to take responsibility and grow your city of light. Our temples have been corrupted and destroyed. Our physical body is the temple. In this incarnation, this time, this is what we're doing. And so we've got to go clean up the temple, right? And we're being called right now for this detox, spiritual detox, emotional detox, physical detox. It's what's happening organically on its own. And it's time for us to take advantage of that energy as well. And so sitting in meditation, so important, so powerful right now to have plenty of time to just sit and clean out. And this is a lot of what we worked on in the Walking in Mother's Garden, listening to Mother Earth. This is a beautiful session, 4 sessions. We've had one, but you can catch the replay. Focus sessions for those of you who are called to come into this alignment, to come back to Mother, to be present. This it's like her voice is getting so strong, you know. But when we sit right now and we finally take that time, and this is what we can help each other with these focus sessions. So I hope you can join those. Even if you can only do the replays, you're still in the energy and we're helping each other. We're supporting each other to keep that alignment, to do this meditation, to clean our body, clean our house, clean our life, take responsibility for all parts of our life. You know, and so, but that time right now is so important to clean house as you sit, you know, in meditation. And it's been constant distractions to keep us from being able to take that time. And you may find this feeling that all of a sudden you realize that it's like part of your psyche, it's like a room that other forces have been inhabiting. You know, technological control, handlers, manipulators, these might be people you would never expect that you recognize from your life. People actually taking bribes to mess with you, or spiritual bribes. Now, if we're going to come back to the balancing, the karmic balancing, this would mean that every single soul needs to take responsibility for their own actions. That is not pretty. And we have a heavy guilt and grief, it seems like we're carrying. Because we don't want to have to be, we're here because we want to remove all suffering from humanity. And how can we stand and watch them suffer? But has this been the problem? We've been taking on their suffering as our job. You know, but now we have to thrive. We cannot be the overflowing cup of love that Mother's asking us to be if we're leaking it out. So we have to own it first then we can give it back and offer it back. And that's a beautiful thing coming through with this advanced technology that's available in our own energetic field. Recognizing when you've got messages coming in or a feeding, both are typically happening, which is why it's so confusing, right? So you've got false messages coming in, vibrational messages through technology. And then you've also got that's using to feed your energy, to literally cord you and keep you in a certain vibrational state so they can continue to feed on your luge. So when we can say, oh, this technological mechanism is being used on my psyche, and Mom just showed me who I am in the mirror, you guys are screwed, because this technology is also available for us. See, we can use the same pathways, right? And so what you can do is just narrow it down. You can analyze this, right? And be like, okay, what messages are coming in that don't resonate with me? Let them still come in, but squeeze it down, get that tension. And then imagine that reverse siphon. I don't know, it's a certain mechanical, it's an actual technological tool, but we have it in our field. And you just flip it, right? Use the tension to flip it. And then your loving alignment with Mother Earth goes through those technological channels, not just back to the source, but all out to everyone they're trying to fuck with right now with vibrational messages that are not true to us. Okay? We're, this is where we have to take dominion. It's more than our own autonomy. That's scary enough to take responsibility. But now we have to take it a step further and take that alignment so powerful that we widen our field, our city of light. Say we have dominion in this realm, the mother's way. It's the only way. And you will find it eventually, because you'll find that every turn and every hallway and every door will lead back to her. And we're going to be right here. So when you're ready, come back to her. We're going to be right here. And that's all we're really here to do, supernova souls, is just hold the vibrational truth of the mother's way so that they can come back. How can they come back to anything if nobody's holding the truth? This is the authenticity, right? They found that the most powerful emotional energy you can have is authenticity. And that's us. And that's alignment. And then we start taking dominion over more than our field is big. And can we take dominion? And we say, that's absolute authority. And then it's this totally different energy when you stand up to those bullies. You be like, hey, who do you think you are coming over here to feed? And then your mom with the mirror. Because the mirror is the ultimate authority, right? Of facing our own. So I think supernova souls have been really manipulated and victimized, right, over lifetimes. And it's like, maybe that's part of this place, the final thing that's holding down the dental floss, holding down the giant, is just this victimization, and because that's the last thing keeping us from having to face how powerful we are and taking responsibility. If we have the responsibility of this dark karma that we've been carrying for other people, then we now need to take responsibility for our clear space and radiate that out and offer that out and demand and command that around us. So it's incredibly powerful. But if you're feeling this call, if you feel this voice of this spiritual divine feminine within each of us, male or female body, the visions you've had in your dreams, this call, this is what these focus sessions are about. It's like, this is a crucial time where Neptune going back into Pisces says, it's up to us to rearrange this reality in the way we need to go. This is the responsibility we need to take. Instead of like, oh, it's okay, I go with the flow, whatever. And then we'll just keep getting manipulated away from our energy and our dreams and our focus. And it's like, no. It's like kind of, maybe we need a little fascism in our own field, right? We need that. We need to be the dictator of our reality because this is our energy. And we can only have that strength when we know we're in that full alignment with her. So this seems to be what this astrology is all about, because we've got this intense square, and that's what we're feeling right now. I'll get into astrology finally. But Jupiter square Chiron, the first one from the 16th of October to November 1st. Now, on the 18th and 19th of November or October, we felt right after they came in exact square, we had the sun interacting in opposition, Libra opposition with Chiron, square with Jupiter. And the sun is, who do you think you are? So that was kind of the opening of this, being like, oh gosh, I thought spiritual awakening was going to be like, and it is, it's supposed to be blissful, but we got to face, it's like you're opening the catacombs, because it's like, if everyone's getting balanced in judgment, then we have to completely clear our slate, see? And we have to, and maybe for supernova souls, the most painful thing is clearing our slate of where we've taken soul responsibility for other souls that have to take responsibility for themselves, And so when we complete the karma we're working on right now, or whatever's going on for us, it's like we're the loops into that lower vibrational dungeon, horrible nightmare. You have to understand that what comes after that, of the nitty gritty, deepest shameful karma, is a massive expansion, into your power. So it might feel better and safer, right? It's like the manipulative energies are like, they use emotional manipulation, right? All of programming, mind control, is trauma based mind control. It's the best way to control anybody's mind, right? But the trauma is like, it'll be like, we're going to continue to invoke this trauma. And then, so you'll do anything in your life to avoid that trauma. So you have to understand that along with that trauma comes fear, right? They go together. Because if you didn't have the fear of the trauma coming, then you wouldn't change your behavior, right? So this is how coercion and the bullies work, right? It's like, we're going to make you feel so bad that you go back into your old patterns, that you go back to your handle, you go back to the relationship, you go back to the bad job, you go back to the prison you're in. So we have to be willing to feel bad. This is when you get out of a narcissist relationship. We've all dealt with this as supernova soul empaths. You will have the deepest dark black hole inside of you, and everything will want to pull you back. And you have to write down why and what you're doing so you can keep, this whole world is trying to gaslight us right now away from who we are. And yet the only place we're finding ourselves is facing the mirror that Mother's showing us. This is who you are, you're love. And so we're really feeling this right now. So when the sun came into that square, it's like facing the fact that we have this energy, that we have a source connection, that we are wounded. And it's kind of like Chiron, deepest wounds. It's a wound of humanity. It's the wound of life force. It's fighting for life or death, And then Mom says, lay down in the wound. Stop running from it, right? Because when we go and we come to the end and we see the mirror, then we want to run. And we're running from the pain, we're running from the feelings, we're running from the guilt, we're running from the shame, and we don't even know if it's our own guilt and shame. And so she says, lay down in the wound, because you've been carrying it all for humanity. Lay down in the wound. Let me cocoon you in golden light and hold you through this time. And know that you're growing wings and transforming. And that is no one's concern around you, right? When you're in the cocoon, it is a total personal, and this is kind of where she's asking us to go. We cannot find the reflection we're looking for in this world right now. If you're still conscious and you've held on to your soul, to your organic body as a supernova soul, then you are surrounded by people who are not real soul-based people, connected to their soul, we'll say. Because I don't want to accept this non-souled people unless they're completely synthetic clones, because you have to have a soul, Mom says, to actually get a body in this realm. So have we been abducted into a synthetic reality? And all this has to get figured out. So it's like, if there's energies using a body and there's a rightful soul that has been abducted in order to use that body, then this has all got to get corrected, right? Like everything has to go back to its rightful owners. This is why you can talk about there is so much evidence out there of a massive, powerful, beautiful financial shift happening on the planet. Also, a lot of agenda of controlling us financially through central banking, digital banking, and that kind of thing, right? Social credit score, which has already been in place. It's already in place here. We're already being punished for our beliefs or our freedom or our enlightenment. That's been going on and on. But there's so much evidence of the spiritual, like this is a spiritual situation, and that's why we have to fix our money system, because our money system is usury, right? It's taking somebody else's money, resources to make money off of their money, off of their hard work. And that's exactly what's been gone on with us souls, right? Here we are stuck in deep, painful karmic situations we feel responsible for with lower evolved souls that refuse to grow. And that's a very, it would make sense as a way to hold us back in these crucial moments. But it's not working. See, that's the thing we have to remember every day. How much has gone into keeping you from coming into who you are and ascending? And you've made it too far now. Right? Nothing can stop it. Everything they did to you didn't work. And that's why we're at the place of the mirror. Because this is what she's saying right now. We've been talking about the shift, the inevitable shift of the geometric inside out of our realities, where we go back to mother's laws and rules. Like, that's what's happening. And so she says that that means she's been telling us this, right? That it's like the laws and rules up to this point has been everything working against you as a healer, against you in your autonomy, against you in your spiritual evolution, against you when you're trying to heal yourself in the world. And we're at that place where it's like it's instantaneous, and yet we're kind of in that. It's like we're moving in the roundhouse. This is November, and it's going, so we're here, we're there. She says we're in the shift, okay? And it's kind of like, can you stop and suspend time like that Jedi master and see how those forces of resistance and control are switching into support? Like, can we handle that? Because now we got to look in the mirror, we got to face our power, take responsibility, and receive support to do the massive, like, what we came here to do. So all those things are frightening for us, triggering the fear, because remember, we've all been MK Ultra programmed. And so we got to come out of our cult programming, and we have to understand fear and trauma as vibrational signatures that do not fit our reality. Do you understand? This is what's going on, cleaning up the earth and setting her free. Fear and trauma do not fit our reality of who we are. And we say no more usury. See? So our financial, if everything is being returned and balanced to its rightful owner, we've got to have a financial shift, right? And this energy of usury and coming back to the laws and rules of Mother Earth, got to have a financial shift, and we're right there. So this Jupiter square Chiron on the earth is really about taking back the resources that are rightfully ours by coming back into connection with Mother. It's so beautiful, and it's so intense. Now, but the thing about it, so right now, Venus is taking her turn, triggering this square. On the 2nd and 3rd, we've got Venus opposite. So it's so powerful because the sun, as Jupiter and Chiron came into their first exact square, the sun came right in and said, hey, you guys, this is who you are. You are the one that was from source with full birthright. And you are the one who gave it away too. And you are the one who needs to climb your way back to Mother and the abundance. That's the truth of this reality. And we could say, okay, here's the abundant truth of this reality, a pot of gold. And here's fear and trauma, which stole it all from us. And so the alignment that we're ultimately looking for is this deep peace we've been talking about that we have the power and dominion in our field to bring the energies of our body, the waters of the earth, and everyone around us into that alignment. The primordial place of stillness. This is the power of cranial sacral therapy. I've been so helped by this and been able to help so many people with cranial sacral therapy, which came out of osteopathy, which was just such a huge part of the cure, the Edgar Cayce cures. And what happens with cranial sacral therapy is that your body goes into this still point. You're working with the rhythms of the body to invite the body to go into this place of stillness, because that's the only place we can heal from. That's the only place we can create from. And so our job right now as alignment, the key is to say, oh, no, fear, trauma, the primordial waters of peace. Because this is what happens when you're in this vibration. I've seen it shown to me. That everything manifest is held through cymatics, sound, vibration, and sound. Everything we see. That means we have the power to dematerialize and rematerialize at will. And so we have to understand that what we want to work with as lovers of the Mother, as children, the chosen ones, her children, from the beginning of this beautiful vision of Earth's ascension and what Earth wants to become, that is our job, to bring it back to blank so that it can become what it wants to become. And so we are that blank. We are that peace. We are that oneness. We are the calm waters, right? Oh, you're going to throw some fear and trauma energy at me? And so the energy around this that we found, and this is exactly what we're working with, right? You want to cement this energy into your space. Say yes to this. Look at yourself in the mirror as a god, as her goddess, as her God, doing her work on the way, because we're all have to come back to this way. And so when you're doing this, then, and you make that commitment within yourself, then everything has to shift in your life. And this is kind of where she's at. We're in the goo, right? We're in the goo where it's like, but recognize it has to go where we came from, everything working against you by design. Where we're going, everything wanting to support you in your work, your sacred work of the mother. And that's a very big shift for us who are scared of our own power, scared of being leaders, scared of taking responsibility. And so this work with our energy field is helping us to feel confident in taking responsibility for the energy that's been bestowed upon us. It's a precious, precious gift. And you are so lucky. We're so lucky. We've done lifetimes of work and evolutions before this to be given this chunk, this big access to creation energy, a big, big field, and yet we don't feel worthy of it. And we're going to give it away to the monsters again and again. And so we face that. It's ultimately unworthiness that keeps us in fear and trauma. And that's everything that we're working out, because Uranus is just about to move back into Taurus on the 9th of November. This is so powerful because Uranus has been in Taurus for about 8 years and then moved into Gemini, just this last months. And now, just like Saturn and Neptune moving back into Pisces, Uranus moving back into Taurus. Now, that means that these planets have a sextile relationship to each other. And it's so powerful because that's where Jupiter and Saturn came into sextile, was in Pisces and Taurus, speaking to cleaning up the delusions of the past so we can come back into our wealth. So it's all about this. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are our game changer, time keeper energies, and they come together every 20 years in conjunction. And then they have this path that they make, right? So conjunction, sextile, square, trine. And so the forces of control have always tried to use those periods of time to keep the miracles and the mysteries and the magic and the enlightenment from coming in. But they've lost control, right? So now these blessings are coming in, but you can see how the vid was a way to try to block these blessings. But what happened is that we just went through the square of Jupiter square Saturn, and that the last square happened in June. And now they're in trine, exact trine. It's so beautiful. So it's like, oh yeah, Jupiter square Chiron, but Jupiter's also in a grand water trine with Saturn. So Saturn is the old way, the past, the wisdom of the past, but also the dogma of the past. And the Jupiter is new dogma, right? New messages, the new king. And so it's about regime change. And the regime change we're talking about now with Jupiter in Cancer is like, yeah, mom's world, right? We're going back to the original owners, the original lineages, the original queens and kings. All of what's, and we are kings and queens. If we claim our autonomy, that's what we're doing. And then our rightful inheritance of the life force that was designed, created, allotted for us. No one else can use it, really. It's got to come back. And what are we going to do with all that energy and money and power? And that's where we come back to this alignment, So the main thing that we're feeling right now is it's Venus's turn to trigger this square. So Venus in opposition with Chiron, square with Jupiter. Now Venus is our emotions, our sensitivities, our intuitions, our feelings of our desire for comfort. It's so powerful because Venus is in Libra. She's a ruler of Libra. And so here at these end degrees of Libra in opposition with Chiron, and square with Jupiter. And so this is coming home to our heart and our soul, this dynamic, and it's really vulnerable. And I'd have to say that Venus triggering the square is like the shedding of the skin, where it's like, it is so tight. I think it might kill me. And then just then it releases, but then still got to get out from it. And you're very vulnerable while you're doing that. It's like very vulnerable time. It's a time to kind of go back into your cave, into your spiritual space, into your kiva, into your roundhouse, longhouse, sweat lodge, like wherever, into your own psychic temple, to heal and to be with yourself, to look at that reflection and to clean house, right? And recognize the manipulations that have coerced you into giving your energy away again and again. And it's like, no, you're going to feel bad until you give us what we want, right? And this is what we're doing. This is our financial system. Coercion. Theft. Mom will not allow it anymore. And it's like, it's going to be radical. And we're on the cutting edge, right? We have to trust. The signs are all there. And don't let this world and those handlers gaslight you from your dream anymore. But it would make sense that nobody around you validates your dream. But get ready, because they're coming. The actual people who've been fighting against you are now going to be your best supporters. Huh. Oh, is that the karma we're working out? I was like, I've been taking sole responsibility for your garbage. You haven't taken responsibility for it. And they're like, oh, well, shoot. I still want access to your healing and support, so I'm going to take responsibility now. That's the mirror. And here we are. So let's look at this. Venus opposite Chiron square Jupiter. We're going to be feeling it through the 6th. Now, this is taking us up into the Taurus full moon. It happens on November 5th. The Taurus full moon activation will be on Tuesday, November 4th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I hope you'll consider joining us. The activations at the full and new moons, we've gotten messages again and again astrologically that this is when the energies come together and align and show us, give us the story, the messages, tapping into those energies. We're setting a certain vibe on the earth. We're taking back our astrology. We're taking back our power. We're taking back our connection. And that is the most important thing with this grand water trine, right? It's like Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces, like, ooh, I don't know what's going on. No, I know what's going on. And we take a hold of our creations, and we take a hold of our vibration, and through that key of alignment. So Chiron looks like a key. And so this is it, right? The divine feminine, Venus is the last to go through these transits, just was the last one to make that air trine kite, telling us that it is the feminine that leads the way into the future. So until we can come to terms, heal, love, and accept our divine feminine, then we're never going to get anywhere. And we can never come back to that love. Now, so the square goes through the 6th, and then on the 7th, Venus moves over into the sign of Scorpio. Very big shift in energies, because it's kind of like, okay, now we really do get to the nitty gritty, because we have this square. So Venus in this T square with Jupiter and Chiron is informing what we need to work on with Venus and Scorpio. And then Venus, once it moves into Scorpio on the 7th, will come into a square with Pluto on the 8th at 1 degree Aquarius. And so this is facing, excuse me, that mirror of darkness, that false reality we've been fed, and seeing the true power within us. And now we have to go deal with that, the ramifications of that. And that's this. So it's so intense because Venus in this T square, just know that this next couple of days, just take care of your body, take care of yourself, be gentle, go hide, whatever you need to do through this next couple of days with the Venus triggering the square. The full moon in Taurus. Now, Venus is a ruler of Taurus. So Venus at the end degrees of Libra for a Taurus full moon is so powerful. And the Taurus is the full moon is happening at 13 degrees of Taurus, 23 minutes, and it's speaking to the divine feminine, Christed feminine, the Christos, the feminine Christos. Like, what does Christ consciousness look like embodied in the feminine? Because 13 is M in the alphabet, which represents mother, comforting, and the divine feminine, the Marys, the Magdalens, everything we love that makes us feel good. It's the divine rightful rulership of the feminine as the creative forces come through, right? God's a chick. Can we just get this shit together? And then it all can make sense and we can move on, right? Move forward. So, but it's so powerful because this full moon is saying it's about taking back the energy. The theme for this full moon came forward as rightful abundance, right? So the energy that's yours being returned to you, and it's massive for all of us. You know, our energy has been siphoned off and we've been traded financially, you know, with our birth certificate as collateral. And it's got to end. That's like usury in its most powerful. And it's intense that, you know, as much as it feels so dark and scary on so many levels, there is evidence popping up in your life and the world of the work that we've done, that you've done, and these concepts, because the Pope himself actually came out with a statement against usury. Absolute evidence that our financial system must change, you know? And so, and also there was a statement in 2020 around Mary Magdalene. Oh, she's not a whore after all. She's the apostle of the apostles. Right? And so we need to rearrange and kind of get in alignment with this, right? Like, it's not just some fantasy that we're living in, that Mother Earth's world. It's Mother Earth's world. She's a sentient being, and we get to be in her body because we know we are her body. We know we are her temple, and we are cleaning up these temples. No more usury, no more money changing in the temples, no more prostitution. No more distortions. No more rubble. Because these temples have been destroyed. That we built in order to map our temple in our body. And so we must rebuild the temples. See the stones all being put back in place in your most glorious light body energy field. What if you've already attained light body in previous incarnations? This is what we've been told. The definition of a supernova soul. You've already been in higher dimensional frequencies, working with higher technologies. And so for these forces out of coercion to be like, oh no, we're in charge of whether you get to have that. And I'm like, no, it's mine. Who's in charge of my energy? This is what we need to ask ourselves. And we're going to be forced to take it back. And it's excruciating and it's difficult and it's exhausting, but just keep it up because we're so close to this flip and shift. And that's what she says. Maybe that's it. The month of November, it's like so nebulous and so weird that we're in it, you know? We're in that place where all the forces that we're working against health, healing, the mother, and love, arguing, resisting, blocking, the best support we could imagine. How do we even conceive of that? But that's what she says is happening. And I think that's this Taurus full moon of our rightful abundance. And so because 13 degrees is this mother of this number, the number of the divine feminine, of the mothering, of the supreme authority of mother in a manifest world, because she's everything. So she's in charge. You know? And it's cool that this is also at 23 degrees or 13 degrees, 23 minutes of Taurus, this full moon, because 23 and me, there's deep mystery to this. The whole reason why they've been trying to compile and steal our DNA and corrupt our DNA is to block that magical, mystical lineages. And we're taking them back because the 23 is that group of the 2012, and then their partners, That's 24, but he's one of us. So it's 23 and me. It's all about trying to find the Jesus bloodline and the Mary Magdalene bloodline, and trying to corrupt and trying to dismantle and trying to feed us false messages about who we really are. And so this is all being dismantled, and it feels like that's that Venus square Pluto. So here we have this divine Christed feminine rightful abundance picture of this Taurus full moon. Just before the Taurus full moon, Venus at the end degrees of Libra as a ruler of that sign in the T square with Jupiter in Cancer. And then just after this full moon, a square with Pluto in Scorpio. And so it's like, here we have the whole story of what needs to be addressed for us to take back our world and free our planet and build back the temple in our body. So the month of November is so important for harmonizing, for letting yourself be in the goo and the gel and just adjusting, because it's so quick, so changing, even though it feels like you're stuck and nothing's happening. This is a culmination of this feeling we've been feeling since 2020. Oh God, it's intense. But get this, the sun and then Venus are going to be coming in to trigger the grand water trine. And we know we have this grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn we talked about. And then we also have Black Moon Lilith just making it to 25 degrees. So here we are at 2025 and a grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn and Black Moon Lilith. So it's go time, and it's harmonized, and you're supported. You just have to face the darkness, right? To be able to create a new and different reality, because Jupiter and Saturn are about timeline adjustments and informing the past, informing the future, you know? And so this is why it's like, oh, Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces, back into the dungeon. But it's like, no, this is about empowerment. This is about going to the dungeon to get that part of your soul that was stolen, taking it back, standing in your power, you know? So the sun is going to be this week coming into a trine. So it's so beautiful. This is just what Mercury has done in Scorpio. Mars and Mercury have made all these transits. And so now it's time for the sun and Venus to make these transits at the same time that Mercury is taking a retrograde. Mercury will spend 3 weeks, separate times, 3 times in this grand water trine. So Mercury just triggered the grand water trine for the first time from the like the 24th, the 21st to the 29th, to 11/2. So right now. So we just had this last week or week and a half of Mercury in that grand water trine. Then Mars has been in the grand water trine until Mars just triggered the grand water trine until the beginning of November. And so it's like we've got that exact square coming off, but Venus triggering it right after it's coming off. So we're getting a break from the square for the month of November into mid-December, but Venus is telling us what it is we need to heal and adjust to during this time, you know? And that's taking back our life force, healing the wound of separation, coming back into our power, facing who we are in the mirror, and breaking the false parts of our identity that are keeping us from being the visionary leaders. And that's the energy of Venus and square to Pluto. So the full moon is, so Venus triggering the square through this first week of November, the Taurus full moon on November 5th, and then Venus moving over into Scorpio on the 7th and square with Pluto on the 8th. So it's like really intense Venus squares before and after this full moon. But Venus is in her home sign of Libra, Taurus full moon. It's all about the garden and the goddess and that rightful abundance, the rightful authority. So 13 is the rightful authority of the divine feminine in a manifest world. And 23 is yes, and that rightful authority of Christ consciousness has a team. And here we go. right? So the deep healing we've been doing is all about preparing for our true soul brothers and sisters on our team ready to get to work, right? We've been surrounded by half-ass energies who are no interest in us moving forward or even remembering who we are. And so we've got to get used to that support. And that's what this Taurus full moon is about. The rightful inheritance, the rightful abundance. So very powerful. I hope you can consider joining that Taurus full moon activation where we can come together and make the most of these energies. That's Tuesday, November 4th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. If you can't make the live time, just know that you can get the replays available right after the event, and you can go get that replay, get that information. And also, if you're interested in signing up for the SuperNova Soul Tribe, then you get those full moon and new moon activations for half off for $20 a month. And then that gets you into both of those activations that are $20 each. So thank you so much for being a member and for your support and for being with me. I feel you. I feel your struggles. We're all going through it together. And this is another message. I'm so glad we got to this because Mom says, because the veil is thinning, you can also start more directly working with your team on the astral level. We've been blocked from this. And I'm thinking back to these different periods of time over these last 5 years where we had glimpses of on the astral plane working together as a team. But there's literally are you out there? I feel you. What are you doing? What am I doing? We don't know exactly who the energies are, but it's going to start to become more clear. But reach out to your team on the astral plane and feel them. Know they're there. Use that to help validate, where you've been gaslit out of your vision and your dream, right? It's no, over here. Just stay distracted with these problems and issues of the physical survival, and that's not real. There's no dream. There's no mother. There's no, and it's it's disgusting, isn't it? All of humanity being raped and manipulated, their energy being stolen and distracted, So we stand, and that's the energy of the sun and Venus coming into the grand water trine. So know that we've got a lot of tension right now with Venus making these squares, but it's about empowerment. And we've also got the grand water trine. So the sun is going to come up into the trine for the second part from the 15th to the 27th of November. And Venus will be activating the grand water trine that's conjunction with Black Moon Lilith from the 24th of November to the 4th of December. And that's right when we come out of our little mini Kali Yuga of the year. We're in the saint time of Saint Michael, starting on September 29th, and it goes through around Thanksgiving, U.S., which is when the sun moves into Sagittarius. And so that period of time is where we're fighting the darkness and finding our light within, finding that light within. And that's along the story of mythology of the light in the northern hemisphere. So that's very powerful that Venus is going to be in the grand water trine for that period of time where we're coming out, because that's when the sun goes into Scorpio, deep into the depths, deep into the journey, deep into the shame, deep into whatever we need to find out to get to that meaning, that purpose, that juice that makes it all worth it. That's what Scorpio wants to get down into the essence. And so just as the sun comes back into that Phoenix moment of moving into Sagittarius, that's when Venus will be in the water trine. And then it's ta-da! And then that's also when the Mercury retrograde resolves. Mercury will be turning direct. It turns retrograde on the 10th of November, coming right up here. And then we'll move back into Scorpio on the 20th of November and then turn direct on the 30th. So the Mercury retrograde for the whole rest of November, which is so wild, because Mercury's retrograde in Scorpio and Sagittarius most of the time in Scorpio. And then we've got also the grand water trine. So it says, here's the grand water trine, harmonized. We can go with the flow. We can feel our feelings. We can clean up our messes. But we can't really get anywhere, But then that Mercury retrograde resolving Mercury turning direct on the 30th of November, moving back into Sagittarius on the 12th of December, and then coming out of retrograde shadow on the 17th. The third and final opposition was Uranus, will happen on the 11th, exactly the time when we are moving in to that, we have Venus in the grand water trine and coming out of that season of darkness. So it's very powerful. So use this grand water trine to your advantage, because the sun coming up to Black Moon Lilith, who are we in the darkness, in the programming, in the shame, in the blame? Who are we? Can we face ourselves? Because if we're going to take the blame for others, then we can't face ourselves in the mirror, can we? If we're going to not be able to take responsibility for our own transgressions, we're not going to be able to face each other ourselves in the mirror, right? So powerful. And so much of this is about having to deal with the reality of a higher and a lower self. And what this time is about, Mom says, is looking in the mirror, coming to the end of the road, is joining those together, right? The integration of the lower self in the higher self, so we can get on with our higher timeline, our higher reality, our age of abundance. See, we didn't come here just to complete karma. We came here to come into the full expression of what we came here to do. We don't get to get out of this until we actually come into an expression of our full potential, right? So the karmic process has just been preparation for that, and all about all the forces that have sought to keep us from our potential, to the point where we didn't even know it was ours anymore. And now we're blinded by the light in the mirror, and we have to deal with that. So it feels like that's the trines, the supportive energy of the trines of this conjunction with Black Moon Lilith, and our divine feminine coming into conjunction with Black Moon Lilith, healing all the transgressions, all of the shame, clearing it all out. And we have to face the vulnerabilities. We have to face the wound. We have to lay down in the wound, but it's all about healing, right? Now we're going from being triggered into the trauma and fear into the healing. That's the grand water trine. Take it. Say, yes, I'm in the healing. I'm healing, right? The main thing we found is that all these technological messages were designed to distract us from our own messages within our own vibrational frequency and our own knowledge and wisdom and awareness and clarity, that the AI is showing us that this reality is programmable, and that means we can program our own reality, but we can only do it and take responsibility if we're in full alignment, But we can say these things to ourselves and know that it's not manifestation, it's just a computer program. And we say, hey, I am healing, right? I'm healing, I'm lifting the shame, I'm coming out from under this. The forces are coming to support me, So that's the crucial thing, that we have to take the power of our mind and our psyche and our consciousness to say, hey, the gateway process, secret CIA documents that they didn't want us to know, all about the power to create our own reality. So the overcoming of the technological infiltration is the reprogramming of our reality. And we know that we don't have the plan. We don't want to do it with our lower ego. And this is where SuperNova Soul's so stuck in these karmic cycles, because you're trying to free yourself from karmic contracts and not create new karma. And how do you do it? And so it's like stuck, being a caretaker or sacrificing your life force in order to save an energy that doesn't want to take responsibility for having life force. This is what we're doing, right? This was Christ consciousness, Yeshua's teachings, all about the right use of energy. If you've got life force, so this is where if you're in a body and the soul isn't there and it's corrupted with technology, you don't get to keep having that body clean it up. And this is our last chance to clean it up. Because if a major, so the AI in our bodies that we've all been poisoned with through chemtrails, additives in food, and anything we put in our body, pharmaceuticals or injections, all have this mRNA nanotech. It's pieces of technology poisoned in our body. It's been happening for years. supernova souls targeted with this way before anybody else, and the evidence is in the mysterious autoimmune conditions. That's nanotech. And now we detox it. Guess what? What if the parasite, what we've been dealing with is this message that we want to heal the parasite off the earth and off our bodies and off like this technological parasite. But there's a place where if, the parasite, removing of the parasite could endanger the host, because the parasite will writhe and protest and fight, and they don't have the parasite does not have a rightful claim on life force. So we got to clean it up. And we start with our bodies in the temple, the parasite, the year of the snake. We're saying no to the parasites. And that's the energies coming in. It's natural healing right now. But if say there's an energy or an entity that has a human body that's not fully human, that's been taken over by this technology, we're coming to this place. So when you use this nanotech in medicine that they're not even telling us about, all these articles years ago saying, oh, there's all this potential for miracle healing. I'm not seeing the miracle healing. I'm seeing a lot of poison, and I'm seeing a lot of genetic manipulation, attempt at genetic manipulation of our God code, right? But when you're working with nanotech in the body and the medical field, and if the nanotech gets out of hand and doesn't follow the messages, right? Because this is the problem with, becoming robots, that whole fear of AI, coming to singularity, taking control over the world. This has already happened. That's what we have is a false AI God. So, the way that they manage this in the medical industry is to give the body a little EMP. It's basically like a vibrational pulse, electromagnetic pulse, and that will reset the nano back to zero, right? It'll take all the programs. So this is what is happening on Earth, isn't it? Whether it's natural or created, we don't know, but there's pulses. These pulses are defragging and deactivating the nano in our body. So if an entity is too much, not a soul, human soul in there, and too much given over to technology, then that body, it might not survive that EMP, right? So this is the last ditch effort to detox, to heal, to say yes to source, God, creator, connection, to yourself in the mirror. And November detox. So I'm so glad that we're doing this, walking in Mother's Garden, listening to Mother Earth, because it's all about that, taking our whole body, the whole world, the waters of the earth back to 0 point, so that it can create and be what it wants to be, not informed by the distortions and the agendas and the delusions. See, this is getting completely out of agenda. No more agenda even to heal. The agenda is Mother's way. And this is where you come to. At the end of the road, at the doorway, at the hallway, at the corner. It's the Mother's way. And it's the only way. And so, because the Mother's way is the original codes. Or code. She says it's just a code. But we have it within us, the original dream of what Mother Earth wants to become. And all we have to do is get the junk out of the way and come back to 0 point for that to bloom and flourish. We don't even have to know what it looks like, right? So that's why the sun coming into that square last week was like ego death to the max, just like let go of anything you thought in your little brain, like what you thought you'd be doing or feeling or manifesting or anything, right? It's just like, and so we surrender that lower self. We surrender the agendas, any agenda, because we got to come back to Mother's agenda. And that's the key. And that's what this is all about. So use this November time wisely, this Taurus full moon, meditate, contemplate on the rightful abundance and can you handle it? So beautiful time to come together and examine all of this. And also thank you for considering being a part of Walking in Mother's Garden. We might continue to do that as a monthly thing. We'll just see how it goes. This 4 sessions in November. We started at October 31st, but to get done before U.S. Thanksgiving. But taking this time to say yes to the mother's body as your body, to the temple within, to support each other in detox, to support each other into it, as much as we can every moment of every day being in the vibration of what we know is true inside, and taking the mysterious, weird energy of Saturn and Neptune and Pisces and saying, yeah, mother's world now. So much crap had to be built up and had to be destroyed in order to find the original dream. And that's the thing. It's like, it feels like there's nothing to catch us in all these changes. But that's mom. She says, no, I got the original dream. I got the original dream. We have it too. We're her stewards, right? And so we let ourselves fall and be caught by that, the way. And we don't have to think about it. We don't have to figure it out. We just have to keep bringing ourselves back into alignment, into love. And everything is going to correct in our lives in the world. That's what it says. This is the correction, the great correction. And so we must allow that for ourselves. And it's like this twist, right? I've seen this, like a picture of that we have this beautiful star, this connection through our being, a point, like a point of a star reaching up in our crown, the cosmos. What's happened through the programming of trauma and fear is that in the past life things we've gone through and this life that we can't even access in our memories of early childhood and whatever else has happened to us. But it's almost like an edge, and you could see this, if you want to call it Satan or whatever, but it's like an axe that's been dug into that beautiful cone pointed point, and then it's become two. Okay, so the pentagram is upside down, and your cone, their one beautiful connection, your birthright as a spiritual being in a body, was split. And then we have the lower self and the higher self, and we have the devil, And so what we're doing right now, I think it's beautiful that we're talking about the rightful kings and queens, because we are taking back our crown. All the pain and trauma and severing, direct severing of our connection, and we bring it back together, and we close the gap. We close the legs. We hold our sacred energy in, no more being infiltrated and invaded and raped and violated, right? And so that's the picture. It's like, I want my crown. I want my crown. It's my crown. It's my autonomy. I can handle it now, right? I want my crown. And that split, that wound that keeps bringing you back to that lower and higher self, right? Just put back together in this beautiful beam of light, Christ consciousness, who we are meant to be. And we don't even have to know what that is, because mom's got the plan and she's got our plans. And so the attempt to corrupt our sacred God code DNA in these sacred blood lineages, that's why your body and your family's so sick, because you're in a magical lineage and you came to heal it, and it's waking up. And she knows the code, knows way better who we are than we know who we are. So we don't have to worry about it. Just align, just detox, just take back your crown, And so it's such a powerful, an incredibly powerful time with these grand water trines. And then that's going to lead us into that second part, or into December. And then Mercury retrograde will resolve. And then we will move into the second exact. Okay. Now, the third exact of Jupiter square Chiron, which is the definitive marker of humans taking back their earth, right? Freeing the earth from controls. But that third and final square doesn't happen until July of 2026. It's crazy. It's with Jupiter at 0 degrees Leo and Chiron at 0 degrees Taurus, completing the issues of where we gave our life force away, and now taking back our abundance, rewiring for abundance, from the 1st to the 3rd of July, 2026, leading up to the 4th of July, which is the 250-year anniversary of the American Revolution, which I know we're egocentric Americans and it's all about us right now, but it kind of is all about us because we're Lemuria and we're Lamerica, and we have to be the ones to stand and take back the spiritual impulse and the mother's love, the matriarchal cultures of everything of this goddess, abundant love way of living. That is America, Lemuria. And so the Native Americans in the Northern Hemisphere are Lemurians. This is what came through the Agar-Casey readings. And so, but there was way previous inhabitants, right? Like our history goes way back. There's the Rocky Mountains are ancient temples. These ruined temples. Is it Atlantean time? Atlantis. It's not where we thought, but Atlantis was all over the whole globe as far as we know it right now in different locations, And so the Native Americans are fighting for the true identity way beyond who they are, the love of Mother Earth. And it's too bad we haven't been able to align and learn. We allowed forces to separate us so much from that wisdom when we ourselves have incarnated as shamans in indigenous tribes again and again as supernova souls. Yet we can't have access to that wisdom that's right here. So, but what happened at the time of the American Revolution is the last Tartarian reset. Now we have to look at what the founding fathers were really fighting for or against. And did they succeed? 250 years later, is this now where we actually get to see the Bill of Rights put into place, or the Declaration of Independence that says that all beings under the sun are created equal and we all have a God-given right to pursue happiness, and prosperity and freedom? So that proclamation has never been fulfilled, and it's like everything is leading up to this 250-year marker. And 20, here we are in 2025. We're talking about 25s and 250 years. So Jupiter square Chiron for the third and final time in new signs, both direct at 0 degrees, says yes. This is the end of this mini Satan's little season, and we're going to go back to Tartaria, new Tartaria, which means we get free energy. We don't have to eat food. We can exist on the manna from heaven. This is the abundance that's coming in. But they keep poisoning us with parasites so that we keep craving food and bad food because we're just bottom feeders, right? We're just the feeders. Keep them happy with more sedatives and additives and poisons, And so we're coming back to this temple, taking back our bodies, taking back the earth. And so that's a big focus, a support group in that. Those 4 sessions, I hope you'll consider joining, even though we've already had the first one, but you can get that on replay. And the first session was all about branding what it means to be in the mother's way. Like, what are we even talking about? And it was really, really helpful for that alignment. And so now we can really bask in the energy and exercise and learn and come back into our ability to bring the energies around us to still point so that we can invite that most optimal reality, that most optimal timeline. So I hope that you'll consider joining those focus sessions, and it's information to sign up below, but we'll use the first part to bask in those waters, to set our vibration, and then also time for sharing from Supernova Souls about your direct revelation of the mother energy in your life. What does it mean? How are you guided by it? What is happening to us? Because a lot of us are like, this is weird and nobody else seems to think the way I do. But something's happening to you, isn't it? You're not like the others. And it has everything to do with Mother Earth because it's her ascension we get to go with. And she's saying, hold my hand. You're going to want to hold my hand. And so we're inviting humanity to come. And it's not just holding her hand. It's like, come sit in her hand. A few activations ago, we had that beautiful image of her hand holding us in our tailbone, like a little baby, giving us a tailbone alignment, spinal alignment, and in that feeling of being rocked and held securely. And that's where we need to be through this transition, right? We're in mother's arms. It might be a little rocking, but she's got us. And that's the best place to be able to receive all that's offered. So thanks for considering joining those visionary focus sessions, walking in Mother's Garden, listening to Mother Earth. Isn't it time for us is just to stop playing games and manipulating our consciousness with our ego, and ask consciousness what it wants to be. The mother, let's talk to her. Let's listen to the divine feminine within, to that little girl, male or female body. As supernova souls, we're dealing with our intuitive part of ourselves that has been the inner child, the intuitive, pure, that's been so degraded and rejected and gaslit and traumatized again and again to try to keep you from remembering. But you're still standing after everything you've gone through. You made it. And when we find out the extent of what they've gone through, the control forces to keep us from coming into our power. Wow. And so just keep that in mind as you stand resolutely. It's not about doing anything right now as much as that alignment and taking the time to heal, to rest. Just like Mercury retrograde, Scorpio, Sagittarius going into the dark, to be able to come back into Sagittarius. The early degrees of Sag, so important for supernova souls. The early degrees of any of the fire signs are being activated, but we have not had a lot of attention in the astrology chart around this early degrees of Sag. And there's certain soul group that has early degrees of fire or Sag, and it's this activation of the quest, right? The original vision of why we came here. And getting on vibe with that and getting excited about it and rising out of the darkness into that mission and that quest. That's not our ego driven, right? That's what this Mercury retrograde and all these astrology is about. No, stop with your ego driven lower self. Even though we call it spiritual, we're still an agenda, and we need to be her agenda. But it's so hard to surrender after we've been so manipulated by the false religious control. And that's why it's tricky when you start to talk devotionally with Mother in the energy of devotion, because people get triggered, and like with all the trauma around religion. And it's like, no, this isn't giving yourself over to the external. This is the exact opposite. But we've lost the reverence. We've lost the gratitude. We've lost the ceremony. We've lost the presence, right? And so can we come into that deepest alignment that it feels okay to surrender to her? It's the original dream. I feel like I'm in the dream, man. I don't know what it looks. The more you're in the dream, more you're in free fall, the less you know what it looks and what the next thing that's going to be called, for you. But I feel like this Mercury retrograde is like a spinning of a spool going backwards to all these things we missed. And it's like we've been having this huge karmic overhaul. And this Mercury retrograde is like, all right, go clip those cords, snip the snips, clean it up. Because, and that's maybe the thing. It's like, well, I think I'll stay in the situation that's limiting because it's actually more comfortable than facing my power and stepping into it, right? We got to face this. And that's what this Mercury retrograde is about. And just feeling the feels. Because our hearts are closed down. And our pineal gland is awakening. We're feeling this. Because spiritual ascension is psychedelic. Our pineal gland activated secretes oxytocin and DMT, the feel-good hormones and psychedelic hormones, and be able to see beyond the veil. And so that's activating, but we can't really use those faculties until we have our heart. The heart is the heart is the most advanced technological organ in the body and chakra, very advanced technologies. And so the heart is the last to come online. And that's where we maybe come back to the key of the alignment. And then, because it's only in our heart, our love, our authenticity, that we can safely and without guilt or shame and feel worthy and capable of directing our energy. We haven't been able to direct our own energy and Mother's energy in the world. We've been in defensive mode. Like, whoa, 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 And anytime we go near that energy, and then if we do access it, they'll make sure we misdirect it. And so it's like, no, I'm not going to do anything because I'll just create more karma. I'm just going to sit right here and take it because I can't create any more karma. And now we stand in the dominion, in the power, in the love, in the alignment with the key. And we say, give it back now. It's our world. It's her world. Give it back. And it's an exciting and beautiful time. And don't miss that either. This is magic and miracles everywhere you look, if you can see them. If we could slow down and receive. And that's part of the visioning sessions as well. Walking in Mother's Garden, listening to Mother Earth, is helping each other slow down and receive the miracles and the blessings of everyday life. Choosing the blissful existence of what this place should be. Incarnate in Mother's body. Her glorious. One little bit of nature can give you this incredible experience of connection. And so we stand with her and for her and take all of the true parts of every religion and you'll distill down to her. All of Yeshua's teachings, her teachings. And so he was devoted to her. And that's where our whole world has to say, hey, divine feminine, or this little feminine, hurt feminine inside of ourselves, how are you? Can we help you? Can we lift you up? And give ourselves the support we've been giving to everyone else. This is a huge thing going on for SuperNova Souls, like an end of the line, red line, can't go any further, no more. I am emptied out. I've been taking care of everybody else, putting everybody else's needs my whole life in front of my needs. And it feels selfish and I feel bad and I feel guilty, but I don't have any other choice. That I have to prioritize. If we're going to take responsibility for the energy we've been given, we better prioritize and tend to that energy. And it's very, very difficult. And yet it's so empowering that you're the only one that can take care of you. And we've been taking care of everybody else thinking that eventually someone will take care of us. And no. I mean, yes, it will happen. But right now in this stage of the game, Mom is there to take care of us. We must fall and rest into her arms and take the time, the space, the peace back in our lives from wherever we've been giving it away. So incredibly powerful. I look forward to just take advantage of these incredible times. Remember that we still have Pluto, that kite that was forming. That means that Pluto is in trine to Jupiter. Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius and Uranus and Pluto are in trine. And we also have Neptune sextile Pluto, Neptune sextile Uranus, because that was the top of the kite. These are still going on, right? So that means that as these planets come in and trigger the grand water trine, like Mercury just did and Mars just did, and Mercury will do 2 more times. Mercury will trigger the grand water trine for the second time. The first time was the last week of October. The second time is the second half of November, and then the beginning of December as well. So that's just so powerful that Mercury's retrograde is going 3 times through this trine, and that means making all these transits. It's not just the trine. We've got all these transits happening, and so this means that first, the planets go into a trine with the North Node, a harmonious, saying that, the North Node, Pisces, the North Node, the only way we can go is back into spirituality and cleaning up the false spirituality. So it starts with a trine with the North Node, conjunction to Black Moon Lilith, conjunction or trine to Jupiter, trine to Saturn, opposition with Uranus, trine Neptune, sextile Pluto. So both that's what Mercury is doing in these transits in the retrograde. Mars is making these. Mars has just come into an opposition, or tomorrow, or on the 5th. This will be for the full moon. So we've got just before and after the full moon, Venus in very difficult transits. And then for the full moon, Mars, opposite of Uranus. But Uranus is at 0 degrees of Gemini, but just about to move back into Taurus. So Mars, in having just moved over into Sag, opposite of Uranus and Gemini, is saying, let's get going on sharing the truth of higher technologies. And Uranus is like, well, we don't feel exactly worthy of those technologies yet or capable. So Uranus has to go back into Taurus. So we claim our wealth and our abundance. So it's very powerful that Mars is making that opposition. Mercury makes 3 oppositions with Uranus. The first one just happened, and that was with Sagittarius and Gemini. But then when these happen again, it'll be with Mercury retrograde back in Scorpio, opposite Uranus and Taurus. So the Mercury retrograde is like, what did we miss about our abundance? How do we take back our abundance? How do we understand? We can't get on our quest until we take back our abundance. So we're zigzagging, but it's so powerful because Mars and then the Sun and Venus are all making this string of transits. Very harmonious. Besides the opposition with Uranus, they're all harmonious transits. And so the Sun will be making all of those transits in the second part of November. Like we said, Venus at the end of November, beginning of December, leading us into the resolution of the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Sagittarius, and massive clarity, right? So be in the soup, be adjusting, be changing, come back into alignment, drop the ego, surrender, clean your body, clean your house, clean your psyche, and let's just see what things look like in December and use this grand water trine to your advantage. Jupiter is exactly trine Saturn from November 2nd to November 21st. And that's where the Sun will be getting ready to move into Sagittarius for that shift. And then Saturn trine Black Moon Lilith is November 7th through November 15th. But of course, those are exacts, and we feel them all the way through December, So take advantage of this grand water trine. It's like these are the Sun and Venus making all these transits. Is like ding, ding, bells ringing, trine Jupiter, trine Saturn, opposite Uranus, trine Neptune, sextile Pluto. It's like a much gentler pinball game than we've been playing, right? It's like, oh, there's more time, more expansiveness, more rest, more peace. But we're still really getting a lot of work done. But just take advantage of this energy of the trine. And I look forward, hopefully, see you for that new full moon activation. Taurus full moon activation, incredibly powerful. On Wednesday, that's happening on the 5th. The activation is Tuesday, November 4th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and information to sign up for that in the box below. A very important time to get all of these messages, all of the resets that we need to move forward. Also, please consider joining that visionary focus sessions, walking in Mother's Garden. And I also have these wonderful classes if you're looking to learn about owning your energetic field, really holding that autonomy, understanding about the technology available in your own field with your own energetic anatomy. And then the goddess activation. Once we learn containment, we can turn up the radio, turn up the power. And the goddess activation is about feeling worthy and capable of accessing creation energy. It's for women and men. It's the goddess creation energy available in our own body, as souls incarnate in the human body, advanced conscious souls. We have access to massive amounts. So that goddess activation is really apropos for right now, helping us to come to terms with the amount of power available to us, whether we can handle it and how to work with it, and feeling confident to do so. So please take advantage of those offerings. It's so helpful for me right now, your support. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to give a donation, if this has been helpful for you and you appreciate the ad-free space, there's links to donate in the information box below as well. I'm also offering a limited number of individual sessions, working with intuitive astrology readings and intuitive healing sessions. That's the past life work. So thank you so much for considering that level of support, and thank you for being here. The best level of support you can give me is to be present and a part of this team. I need you on the team. You need me on the team. We need to be together. We got to call in our team and get serious about living the dream, because Neptune is going to turn direct on December 11th and move back into Aries on January 27th. And that's when we say, oh, this is how it's possible to create the new and beautiful world that we see. You know, this is how we do it. This is the way. This is our next project. This is where you focus. This is what you need to do. And so just be in the quagmire for now, because it will become clear eventually. And the more you're in the quagmire, the more you're able to adjust to the changes that are happening within you and in your life. So thank you so much for being here, for being a supernova soul, going through all you've gone through. And I just deeply appreciate you existing and being here, being on the team, and for your support. So I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, at that Taurus full moon activation on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time in the US. And perhaps you'd like to check out those visioning sessions of Walking in Mother's Garden. Those are on Fridays for the next 3 Fridays, also at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So thanks so much for your support, for being here, for being with me, for being with us. It's a beautiful movement, and don't let anybody tell you different. Don't let anybody gaslight you from the dream. Please just hold on to it, because you came here to be a dreamer, a stargazer, you know, the one who could see out beyond what they're telling us. And so that's a really important message coming through, that she says it's really important to cut off from, you have some awareness of what's going on out there, but also cut off from social media, all the messages, all the technological influences. Go to Mother for your weather report, you know, go within, research. It's time to open those old books. You know, you can't read them all, but just pick one that speaks to you and open to a random page and read a few lines. This is all we need to do right now to get our weather report, because things are so aligned in this level of synchronicities that it's like the information you're looking for that you think might come from other people on social media or the news is actually going to come through ancient texts. She says, go get your weather report, you know, go face the music, go get to work on whatever we don't know. Right? Work right now is swimming around, cleaning it up, sorting through, and allowing ourselves to massively adjust. Because remember, we're in the middle of it. And what does that mean? We're in defensive posture, like, oh, I'm still going to somehow keep moving forward, even though everything seems to be against me. And then all of a sudden, you're going from this to like those energies coming around and being like, we want to support you. And that, do you see the change? It's a very short time to make such a radical change. From to, I feel lifted. I feel hell. I feel like I got my team. I get to do it, you know? So be true to yourself. Look in the mirror. Face it. Know that Mother loves you so, so much. And you must be that love for yourself before you can give it and overflow that cup into the world, which you know that's what you came here to do. Supernova Soul. If you made it to the end of this video, congratulations, there's the prize. You're the overflowing cup of love. And I see you. And thanks for seeing me and being here. So I look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully at that Taurus full moon on the 4th, or the visionary sessions, Walking in Mother's Garden. The next update, I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll see you on the astral play and the plane and the replays. I love you so much, Supernova Souls. See you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.